Good evening. My name is Barbara Kirchhoff, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here this evening. We're delighted that you're here. We expect a lot more people with the reservations that came in, so maybe they will be coming in, but we're at least happy to have you. Quality is important, but quantity, is important too. So I guess tonight we have the quality. Okay. I would like to ask you, though, to open your brochure that I gave you, and on the left-hand side you will find the seminar evaluation form. We would like very much for you to fill that out because it helps us know if we got our message across. If you have a suggestion, anything that you want to write down, maybe some other subject, as long as it's positive. No, it can be negative. We just say that, but go ahead, put anything down that you would like, because I'll collect those at the end of our session tonight, and then that does help us really know that we have, put across what we want to tonight. If you got something out of it, we need to know that, okay? Well, I tell you, it's a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Watts. I've been involved with him. I'm sorry, I don't want to say involved. I've had a working relationship with Dr. Watts for over 30 years, and it's just been a delightful experience. I served as his office manager back in those days, and I watched with interest how he took care of his patients, and that has not changed. I've had patients tell me that they feel like when they're with him that they're the only patient he has, because he gives them that undivided attention. And that's what we all want when we go to a doctor's office. And he has that innate ability to listen. He doesn't just start talking to you, he listens. He wants to hear what you have to say. And once you tell him what you're here for, whatever issue that you're concerned about, then together you work on what process you want to use to address that. So tonight, I think you're going to find our seminar real interesting, and we've given you a paper in there, a plain paper that you can make some notes. And there will be question and answer period at the end, and we would like for you to turn off your cell phones if you don't mind, so that doesn't interfere. But the other thing I want to tell you is when we're finished tonight with all the questions and answers, if you would like to stay, Dr. Watts is more than happy to talk to you one-on-one, maybe something you don't want to bring up in the session, but you want to talk personally to him, and you can do that. So having said that, I'm very pleased to introduce to you Dr. Watts.
Thank you. So it's nice to be with you guys tonight. I know some of you, I know some of your faces, some new people coming in here. And tonight we're going to talk about something very serious, a serious problem that affects women more than men. Why is that? Well, women have our condition more than men, and they end up taking care of people. Women, unfortunately, end up usually being the nurturers in this. We're going to be talking about brain health. It's known by many names: cognitive decline, dementia, Parkinson's, MS, a lot of different things that it's known by. I am not a neurologist. I want to spell that right off the bat. A lot of my colleagues are neurologists, so I listen to them. Many people that have cognitive decline or that have any of these conditions will be followed by myself and a neurologist. I am an integrative physician. What does that mean? That means that I take both the natural type of medicine and the traditional type medicine. We put those two together. That's what that means, integrative medicine. I started off as a general practitioner almost 40 years ago, believe it or not, in Tarpon Springs, Florida. No, almost 50 years ago. Oh my gosh, I'm starting to age myself. And I became an OBGYN. I went through residency and surgeon, and then started my practice here in '80 in Sarasota. And then about 20 years ago, started learning about nutrition, toxins, hormone balancing, these type of things, and I've been practicing a lot of that since that time, and found that to be very valuable. What we find is that this type condition, the first time I knew about it, probably my grandmothers a long time ago. Both my grandmothers succumbed to Alzheimer's. Okay, both of them. It was hard to watch them go downhill after, they had great grandmothers. My wife's mother had, Fanny Bill, had Parkinson's disease. So she was under that. Now she was able to overcome that. Doing some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. And I think we all remember President Reagan. We all look, I think everybody here is old enough to have watched him slowly decline on TV. So they spent millions of dollars trying to find out what can we do for this. They've spent 80 years with doctors and PhDs and all sorts of industry trying to find it, usually trying to find a pill or the one thing that might cure it, the silver bullet that might cure it, and we've not been able to find that. So we've tried to do that. What I think I have tonight is the good news. The good news is that there is a method that has been used. Dr. Bredesen, who some of y'all have talked to me about just before we started. This is the book that I would suggest reading, and a couple of you guys have read it. Is that correct? Or listened to the tape?
Audio tape for me.
Audio tape and the book, okay. This I would suggest very highly. He wrote a paper, Dr. Bredesen wrote a paper several years ago, and he described, he is a neurologist in LA, he's one of the professors of neurology in the neurology department at LA. He also runs the Buck Institute, which is an aging institute. Mainly they study aging of the brain. Okay, so he took several patients several years ago, I think over 7 years ago, and he ran 10 patients through this program and found that, believe it or not, 90% of them had a reversal of their cognitive decline. That was crazy. Nobody's ever done that. There's never been any pill that did that. He did it through different methods. He took, he decided that the Alzheimer's or cognitive decline was not a single point or a single pill type thing that could be taken care of. So he looked at this from different angles. He looked at it from a nutritional angle. We're going to look at those things tonight and see what did he do. But what we found is that the brain has terrific plasticity. You can reverse, you can stop, you can turn back Alzheimer's if you catch it soon enough. And we'll take a look. But my talk tonight is going to be based pretty much on his findings. Okay, so if you want to look back and see where I got some of this, you can definitely do that. We're going to look at the root causes of brain aging. We're going to look how do you turn back, how do you slow down brain aging. We're going to give you tips on that. Secret of gut-brain axis. How many of you have heard of that recently? Gut-brain axis, okay. And neurogenomics, so how do we use genetics to work in our favor rather than against us. And we're going to look at toxins that steal our health. And then we're going to look at best foods and nutrients and some lifestyle activities that help us to reverse this cognitive decline. So I want to see if I'm in the room with anybody that might have this. By the way, I have all these, so if you didn't know. I think I had it 50 years ago, too. So you walk in a room, now why am I here? You suddenly forget the name of a familiar restaurant. You find you have trouble calculating easy math. Start to introduce your friends, you realize you can't remember the name. You can't remember where you put your keys again. That's me for sure. Okay. Are you having difficulty concentrating at work? Remembering names? Finding your glasses? Easily distractible? Okay, cranky? More often than the past, or worried. It can get really bad. I was unfaithful to you once with some redhead in the men's room in the pool hall in 1971 when I was drunk. That was me. Didn't get very bad. I'm doing a talk to a church group here next month. I thought I would take that one out. What's the problem? We've been talking about it. There's 30 million patients in 2012. We expect that to go to 160 million by 2020. It's going to break Medicare. We know that. There is no cure. This is from Dr. Bredesen. We've been looking at single pill therapy, and there really hasn't been much of anything that we can. Some things have maybe a couple of years work at the most. So single agent pharmacology has not been successful, and early evidence indicates that personal lifestyle health care is the most efficacious approach to both prevention and management in neurodegeneration. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. That's Dr. Bland. How many read The Grain Brain? Well, that's Dr. Bland. Dr. Bland is the head of functional medicine group and metagenics, okay? This is Dr. Perlmutter, sorry. So brain plasticity, Dr. Perlmutter's been studying back, by the way, he studies with Dr. Bredesen, and so he's been working with ways at which we can overcome Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and MS. He writes a lot of books about it. His books are very good too. The Better Brain book, I think, is a real nice one. But he talks about how we can reform the brain, okay? I found out, interestingly enough, I had a stroke about 20 years ago. Didn't know it until about 6 months ago. Guess what? They ran a brain, said that I have a hole in my brain. I remember lifting weights one time, straining and getting shock it. He said, and I went and got some MRIs, things like that. Things were normal, had normalized. But when I talked to a neuroradiologist in Tampa, a specialist, and he said what's happened over the course of my time, I've reformed those brain cells. I reformed the brain cells, reformed around that area of the brain that I had knocked out. That a stroke at probably, what is it, in the 40s or something, you know, it's hard to find that out. So people have these things. We have things that we have, but to know that we can regenerate this nerve tissue is just wonderful. So if we look at this, we can kind of follow a person with a healthy brain. And healthy brain might look like this. Now this is a diagram, of course. And what happens as we get older, it shrinks. Did you know our organ system shrinks? All this stuff shrinks, okay? But our brain especially shrinks, and especially the areas in our brain that are cognition, that control cognition. And we can actually measure that in an MRI. We can tell if your brain is shrinking in certain parts. It's called a quantitative MRI, where we can actually measure these systems. If you could hold questions until the end, just write them down. I will want to answer any questions, though. Thank you. Okay. So we want to, these are biomarkers. Okay, these are health markers. In the line of brain aging, and by the way, there are thousands of health markers that we can use. Some are subjective, some are objective. The subjective would be how you feel. How's your brain working? How's your memory? How's your agility of the brain? How can you, how do you perceive things? So those are all, how's your mood? How are you sleeping? These are all biomarkers. This is age. As a rule, we do good until we get to this point right here. It's called the hill. And what do we call this? Over the hill, as we get older, right? This would be going over the hill. This is a poor method of health. And so this person would start having cognitive decline very early. If you look here, this dashed line, they start having poor quality of life very early in life, in the 50s. You'll usually only see this in genetics, okay? If you have a very strong genetics for Alzheimer's in your family, we're going to talk about that. This would be our average. Usually we live into our 80s, okay? We start having usually problems in our 70s. What are this? Arthritis, heart disease, some brain problems, memory loss, these kind of things. And we almost all have this, and this is where we would like to be on this good line here. A slower line of decline, okay? A point, I'm sorry to have to tell you, we'll all probably pass right out here somewhere, okay? I don't know where that might be. I have my druthers, I'd like to probably pass my sleep at 100 after a really fun day, And so that would be my thought, I don't know. But look at this dashed line, okay? This would be this is what we want to achieve. So a long, steady life of good quality of life, and then a very short period of time in which we have poor quality of life. This is what we would try, and this is what we do in the type of medicine that I practice right here. And as far as the brain, we're going to be talking about that tonight. A good brain health for a lot of us is a matter of choice. We're going to talk about what can you do. You're like, wait a minute, I didn't think I had that much choice in that, but we do. So look at this. We start off. When do you think you go over that hill? Do you might want to guess?
What's that?
When do we go over the hill? Over the hill. Especially brain. Brain is you're gonna floor you. This is gonna floor you. Your girls are a little more protected than us, at least early in life.
1 month.
Okay, so we go over the hill. Guys go over the hill somewhere around 18. Girls is 30 years old. But do you know when the height of brain is? Height of your fat, speed of brain, thought, memory, everything. 11.
Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah,
Not good. So we can start this decline. Now most of us won't feel it until in the 40s, maybe 50s. Most of us won't feel that, so we don't notice this so much. So we'll start going downhill, okay? And may need medication. Here's someone that is partially disabled. This is totally disabled. This man has lost his memory. He's lost his loved ones. He wouldn't know who's taking care of them. This is what starts happening. Here's some people that have had long history of good memory, okay? Who's this, Tina Turner? Yeah. Who's this, Shields? Who is this, Tammy? William Vernon, yeah. Who's this? Jackson. This guy died about 2 years ago. This is him doing a commercial at 95. He died at 97. He's in a TV commercial right there. This is a little lady Vernon running. She's 85. She's running a Fortune 500 company. She's actually gotten out of that last year. Okay, she got out of that. I know my wife still gets her magazine, so I know that. So we want to try to get this. I interviewed a patient. Was doing a show, a radio show, with one of the announcers. She was a journalist, or head journalist, editor for the Harvard Journal, and she was doing a radio show with me. She wanted to know who was the patient that had the best memory that they knew, and I had one that was 105, and so she said, well, that's who I want to interview. I don't want to interview me, I want to interview her. And she was so much fun to talk to, so alive, and so her brain was just working. She was actually, I think, 12 years old or so at the end of the First World War. She remembers celebrating the First World War out of New York City. And so that's what it gets to. Okay. So this is wellness. This is a person that's well and active. This is a person that we talked about that had totally lost it. May have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, memory loss. Now I'm saying that it's for choice. It's not always, truthfully. For instance, me having that stroke or getting a car wreck or having some cognitive decline such as that, you can have accidents and stuff that can happen. It can put you out there just as badly. Okay, so for a lot of us. But what if these are traditional lab tests? Traditional lab tests usually aren't actually sophisticated enough to pick up these early declines. Okay, why is that? Well, most lab tests, the doctor will say, well, you don't have Alzheimer's. Oops, now you do. You know what I mean? It's just, okay, now your MRI is showing, or EEG, or now you flunked the test. You can't tell what the clock does, if anybody's ever taken that test, okay? So our older medical tests are not designed to really diagnose having, or picking up these early signs of early degeneration. What about if we were able to go way back here in this timeline and find out things that affect us before we start getting organ problems? What if we looked at our hormones? What if we looked at our nutritional efficiencies? What if we looked for toxins that could get in our system, or our genetics, and we were able to change those things, okay? So we now have the tools in integrative medicine to detect and correct most of these symptoms before they occur. So find the disease before it finds us, is what we talk about. So prevention is always better. Like I said, read this, because Dr. Bredesen has worked on mild and moderate cognitive decline and finds that he can actually reverse it. Okay, it's always better if we can help before we get these things. And it's very similar. People say, well, what do you do? Well, it's very similar. Take care of our stuff, our house, our car. We want to maintain it, keep maintenance on these things. This is a 52 Porsche, runs great, looks good. I'd love to have that car. Here's a brand new one. They don't normally need that much care. You know, this one here, this little Roadster is going to need more care, so it's going to need more care, more attention, and that's what you need to do as far as when we're taking care of our bodies or our brains. Just a little more attention, more as we get a little bit older. It takes a little more discipline, right? As we get older to what? I'm maintaining my weight. Just maintaining my weight takes more discipline. We were talking earlier about going into a favorite restaurant we like and trying to not to do the bad things, right? So we want to balance our health. In this manner of this, we have the good guys and we have the bad guys. We want to optimize the good guys and we want to decrease these bad guys. What are the bad guys? Let's show them to you. These are the guys in the red here, pink. Inflammation, beta amyloid. How many have heard of beta amyloid? That's a protein that builds up in your brain, and we think that has something to do with slugging down the brain. Genetics. It can work for us or against us, in this case against us. Microbiome. All that's a big word for gut bacteria. That's right. Stress, trauma, aging, okay? Injuries. Okay, see people have concussion syndromes. We've been having a rash of them lately in my office, and yes, they have decline, and then they are more subject to having decline as they get older. These are the good guys, the glial cells and the astrocytes. These are our stem cells. We all have them. They're right there, right now. They're ready to grow new cells in our brain. Right now, everybody has these glial cells. We need to feed them. Neuroplasticity. This means, like Dr. Perlmutter says, that our brain can regenerate, like mine did. Exercise. Very good. We're going to look at that. Hormones, nutrition, neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are the brain hormones, okay, that can be optimized. We can optimize brain hormones, especially with nutrition. And then sleep, we're going to look at that. What does sleep have to do? You know, for years they didn't know what sleep did or why we need it. They thought, well, if everybody needs it, you'll die without sleep. You'll die within so many days without sleep. Let's look at a patient here. Okay, this is one of ours a while back. 76-year-old retired male, always sharp but concerned about memory loss. He was worried about Alzheimer's. Mother and father died from Alzheimer's. He should be worried. Okay, both of them had it in fairly early age. And so we checked his genetics. This is his genetics. And we found out that he had an ApoE44. It's what you don't want. That's the Alzheimer's gene. Now, here's the good news. So he goes, oh no, you know, I'm going to get Alzheimer's. No. The thing is, this is a risk gene. This is not a determinant gene. What does that mean? A determinant gene means you will get it. This is a risk gene. It means that if you do certain things, you will not get it. Okay, what do you have to do with this one? This reads for inflammation. If his body has a lot of toxins in it, it'll turn on. We found out that this gentleman had mercury in his brain, and we were able to clean this out. And he never had Alzheimer's. Now, I'm sorry, this has been a while ago. He passed actually from pulmonary embolus a few years ago, but he never developed Alzheimer's at both his parents, and he has a genetic marker for it. This is a neurogenomics again. So how do we use genes? This is a 46-year-old female. She's concerned about memory loss. In her family, they had hypertension and increased homocysteine. So both her parents had this. Okay, her father died from heart disease. Her mother had dementia. So something going on, right? We ran a genetics on her. Interestingly, I'm looking at this almost laughing because I made this slideshow probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm noticing that our genes are now way more. Anybody done a 23andMe or one of those heritage genes? Anybody done that? Yeah. You know, you can get what, 100 genes back. You know, and we now they have gene a computer at St. Jude's Hospital. They tell me they have billions of genes. They don't know what they mean. They absolutely have so many genes, so much data, they can't take care of it. So they'll build all these computers to try to figure out what do these genes mean and how does it affect our lives. How can we use this to help us have better health in the future? But here's something that we can use now. These are clinically significant genes, and there's about probably 16 genes that we can run for different reasons here in the office. Some for psychological, some for neurological, some for cardiovascular, some for weight loss. We can run a lot of things of this type of thing. So we found that this person had a MTHFR gene, very common, especially in Northern Europeans. They had both parents, they got it from both parents, and it reads for inflammation and increases heart disease. Whoa, okay. Guess what? This little gene can be turned off. We turn off or on, we say. Can be turned off by simply taking methylated forms of folic acid, methylated forms of B6 and B12. So by giving this person right here this, by taking care of that, we were able to turn that gene off. They also had hypertension, and it had to do with an angiotensin gene. And so what we can use this, you know, rather than going to the doctor and going like, oh, let's try this, or let's try that, let's try a calcium blocker, let's try a beta blocker. So we can actually use this, and we know that this person has an angiotensin problem. We would use an angiotensin type medication for them that should work great for these. So we can actually use this to tell us what medication to use. So some people tell me, well, you're a natural doctor, you're vitamins. No, I do both. If we need surgery, if we need medication, if we need vitamins or need detoxification, we use both of these. Okay, in this case, we would want to use for her, for blood pressure, medication. Neuroplasticity. We all have it when we're little, right? We all know that. Little bitty baby, we see them get up and start crawling around. They challenge themselves. They try to do everything. And I know my little Hudson and my little Caleb, which are grandsons of mine. They're both about 1 year old to 1 year old. And they're just trying everything. Every day is a new thing for them. And they're always learning. They're always challenging their brain, right? And they get better and better and better. Remember I said we go up, you know? They're starting off in that up thing, okay? Well, what they're doing is they are igniting these brain cells to form new cells all the time and new connections in their brain, and they are dynamic. Okay, neuroplasticity at the best. What happens when we get older? What do we start doing? While the brain needs constant challenges to remain healthy, modern culture is all about living life without the rather troublesome requirement of having much of a brain. So we all end up, this is Homer Simpson's brain right here. We all end up with the teeny brain. After a while, if we don't use it, what happens? You lose it. And I can guarantee you that's what happens. So many of us will get retired. I see a lot of guys get retired, guys and girls, and they'll just not do anything. Well, that won't work. I'm sorry. You know, you have to challenge your brain. You have to be like the little baby. You have to constantly challenge it to get these little nerves working. This is a brain cell. These are the astrocytes, the little stem cells. These are microglial cells. And see how they're trying to form little baby connections there? See? When they form little baby connections. Obviously, I form a little baby connection right there, back there in the back of my head to make up for the little hole in my head that I don't have. Yeah. Swiss cheese. My wife said, yeah, I knew it all along. So how do you train a brain? What do y'all do? Anybody do anything to train your brain?
Language, new
What?
language.
What?
New language, learning a new language.
Learning, that's an excellent one. That's listed as one of the top.
It's very enjoyable.
What, that?
Very enjoyable if you watch the videos for the kids. That's the way I learned Spanish.
Is that right? Yeah. I've got kids that live in Miami.
It's fun.
I better
I mean,
learn
it's fun.
Spanish, right? Anything else?
Exercise.
Exercise.
Oxygen to your brain.
Huh? Music is considered one of the
Music, yes.
an instrument, and also enjoyable. I've heard
Yes.
people picking up piano and getting real good at it. They like it. Okay. But challenge it. One lady said, well, I like, what is that, Dodoko or something? I said, are you good at it? Yes, I am. Well, change it. Do something different. Because she was already good at it. That's not challenging for her, you see? She didn't like that. She thought the Dodoko was going to keep her all in shape. Game of chess. Did you know chess is really good? Because you have to constantly switch your brain, you know, to think of the strategy ahead of time. So we train it. So when we train our brain just like the little baby, okay, and what Dr. Bredesen found out, he was able to increase alertness, attention, accuracy, speed of process, sequencing, predictive powers, flexibility, memory, confidence, reliability, people skills, and intelligence. How many would like that, you know, just to keep up with all those things? And so he was able to reverse these things that we attribute with aging with just training the brain. There's some things that are kind of well known for this. This is lumosity. Everybody ever heard of this? Okay, it's a program that you can use, and it's kind of fun. These are things that speed and attention and problem solving. This is overall. Here's a person that started on lumosity a while back, and they think, I don't know how much they trained. Let's see, they did 50 games. Okay. In this length of time, I don't know exactly what it was. I think it was over about, I think these are months, so over about 10 months or so. And look at this, they went from a 900 score on the overall all the way up to 1300. So they were increasing their brain in all these different aspects. Now you say, well, they can play that game better. True. Guess what? They can remember things better. They can process their brain better. So that working out that one little game formed new neurons, okay? You play the chess, you do the language, you learn music or something like that. Okay, so we can all take advantage of that, and I would totally recommend this. Dr. Bredesen is very adamant about these things. Or you can play a game on the computer, which is fun too. Exercise, somebody mentioned that one down there. Okay, exercise improves mood and memory and decreases risk of Alzheimer's by 30%. Guess what? It's free. You can get out there and do anything. Okay, how many exercises in this room?
Every day.
Exercise, you got to move. It increases energy, aerobic capacity, heart muscle, metabolic rate, lean body mass, burns calories, balances hormones, relieves anxiety, depression, stress, improves sleep. Just to be able to look like this, you know? Just to be able to have a body like that. Oh, awesome. Now, of course, these guys are what, 20s? You'll have to give me that. My wife's saying that's what she wants there, too. So we talked about sleep. What does sleep do? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what happens during sleep? This is new stuff.
Clean up the toxicity from your brain.
Clean up the garbage. How's it do it?
How they do it?
Yeah, how's it do it?
I
That's good though. That's a good start. Cleans up the garbage out of your brain. That's good.
I really don't know.
When you dream, it just pushes it all out.
When you dream, it pushes it out. Maybe.
Really,
Well, here's
don't know exactly. They don't know exactly.
Well, they do know something. I'll give you one little clue, maybe not the whole thing. Dreaming is a good one too. But when you sleep, believe it or not, your brain shrinks. It goes, that muscle in your brain just goes down like this. It shrinks. The cerebrospinal fluid, the brain can't clean by the blood. It doesn't go by the way the rest of the body cleans. Okay, it doesn't go by the blood. There's a blood-brain barrier that locks that out. And our brain, it will clean by this cerebrospinal fluid getting up into the brain, sloshes around like a cleaner, and then comes out before the morning when your brain swells back up and washes all that stuff out, all the trash out that you just talked about. And that's how it works. Now I gave a very simplified version, but that's how the brain cleans up. Okay, all that cerebrospinal fluid. So all the beta amyloid, all the junk that's up in there, all the free radicals that accumulate during your day, okay, will go down. I know my wife says if she goes through a sleepless night or sometimes gets worried, can't sleep, she'll be hazy and can't think during that day.
Just compliment, not a question. I think that best time to sleep, I understand, you can correct me for this, based on the circadian cycles.
Circadian.
Cycles, okay. Between the 10 is the latest we go to sleep nowadays. 10 is the latest. Okay. And then between 10 to 3 or something like that. You cannot, just wake up all night long and then start 3 o'clock in the morning, start sleeping. That is a very inefficient way of providing the functionality of the sleep. I just want to tell you.
Well, it seems like we were meant to, at least anthropologically, we were meant to go to sleep more with the sun cycles. In the winters we would sleep more, summer a little bit less, and that we should go. But because remember, we didn't have artificial light for a long time, not even fire. So our bodies were meant to more go with those cycles. All we could do is just lay there and sleep, right? Or maybe have sex or something. So what happens? These astrocytes, these little glands, these little cells in our brain can't form new cells, new connections. When we sleep, it cleans out that trash, all the dumping. Okay, it decreases inflammation, it decreases neurodegeneration, it regulates cells that cut down on Parkinson's. Okay, so sleep increases exchange of cerebrospinal fluid with the interstitial fluid to 60%, removes the beta amyloid and all the neurotoxic waste. Sleep, okay, very important. Inflammation causes problems all over the body, arthritis, joint pain, muscle pain, gastrointestinal pain, headaches. In this particular case, inflammation in the brain, in the cells in the brain, cause neurodegeneration. So all these things, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autism, multiple sclerosis, stroke, depression, ADD. Remember, inflammation is one of the bad guys. So we want to decrease inflammation. How do we do that? There's multiple ways to do it. Okay, here's just one. Okay, this is just an odd one that I dug up. Okay, these rats ate the same food, fed the same amount of food. Look what happened. Okay, this rat grew up nice and healthy. This rat had diabetes, actually. Okay, but not only that, it got Alzheimer's. So here's the brain shrinking. This is a person's brain. This is that brain. This rat actually lived 2 years longer and had no problems. This one started becoming, memory declined right off the bat. What was the difference between these two? This one actually had, the only thing they did, they fed this one a different type of lactobacilli. They fed it a type of probiotic, a gut bacteria, microbe. I know that sounds very weird, but by helping our body with this form of inflammation or anti-inflammatory, if we don't have the right proper gut bacteria, it's called the gut-brain connection, then our body starts developing inflammation that goes up in our brain and starts causing problems. It fights Alzheimer's, it helps sugar imbalances, but it balances the immune system, inhibits obesity, it improves mood, behavior, and brain function. Believe me, probably one of the hardest things I had was to start understanding that, just to understand that. But now I'm a believer in that our microbiome in our guts, okay, the good bacteria in our gut need to be there. And now in the United States we eat so many poisons, so many antibiotics, and this kind of thing. We're not running good biotics in our intestinal tract.
That is absolutely right.
Toxins, they stockpile in our body, they steal our brain. Steal our brain. If you eat, if you drink water or anything, if you breathe air, any of those three things, you bring in toxins into your body, and sometimes our body can't clear them out. our detoxification organs are not enough to handle all these things, and now we've created new chemicals in our environment that we don't even know how to handle. Our livers can't clean them out, or things that were meant to clean them out. So 7 billion pounds of toxins are released into the air and water each year, and they accumulate. So some of these don't biodegrade, they don't go away, so they accumulate in our systems. And if you breathe them, if you did that, you become the detoxing agent. Most of these are called environmental toxins. There's also all sorts of stuff, like electromagnetic, self-induced. What are self-induced toxins? What are these?
Drugs.
Smoking, drugs, too much alcohol. That's my stand.
Stressful.
I'm not putting alcohol in there. Too much. Wow.
Stressful thinking, you know, and being.
Stressful thinking.
Yeah.
That poor thinking. That's an environment that can be, yes. Or being around people that stress you out.
Yeah.
Altered foods, so you can have foods, natural toxins. What are natural toxins? We didn't put that one in until just recently. Lyme disease causes Alzheimer's. Mold in Florida. Mold toxins cause Alzheimer's. Food sensitivities, okay. Altered foods would be like, I can't really talk since we're going out to the nation. I don't know where we stand on that anymore. But anyway, so altered foods, genetically modified foods, things such as that, might have a problem. Okay, they're finding out. This is the brain of a person that we saw several years ago. My wife brought him in, and he was about 73 or 4, had retired, very well-to-do guy, but she brought him in and said, hey, you know, our fairy tale life is over. He's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, had an MRI, it's not doing well. What do we do? Is there anything that you know of? I said, well, if his brain is dead, if he has severe Alzheimer's or something like that, I cannot do anything. I could talk to the guy, and he's very agreeable type guy, very cordial, but if he said he cannot find his way back home. He could not do that function. And he owned the bank. You know, he was usually a very well-to-do guy. We ran a map study on the guy. This is quantitative EEG. This is his nose. There's his ears. Have you ever seen anybody put the electrodes on their head? Okay, you run the EEG. This is a computerized EEG, okay? And we call that a quantitative EEG or a map study. And this is his. It's blue. Now that blue has been colorized, but that means that his brain is almost like frozen. Nothing's moving up in there. His nerves are not connecting. They're not forming. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, did I have this? Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So what we found was, this is one of his studies for toxins. We found that this guy had a gigantic amount of mercury in his system. Huge, about 50 times normal. We didn't know exactly where or how he got it. A lot of times we know they eat fish or had dental something. And what we found was that this is after we removed the mercury. This is his nose, this is his ears. About 6 months after we started removing the mercury, his brain woke up. He didn't have Alzheimer's, he had mercury toxicity.
Wow.
So we were able to clean this up. So his brain had not died, they were withering. Think about a flower in your garden. Most of us grow flowers in Florida. If you don't fertilize it, if you pour gasoline on it, if you don't give it nice light and water, it'll just sit there and die. You start giving it light and water, and you clean that stuff out and give it the things it needs, it'll start perking up there. And that's what we were able to do with him. So he's passed since today. This has been a while ago, but not from any Alzheimer's. His brain worked fine until the end there. Neurotransmitters, we talked about that. That's kind of like the brain hormones, and many of y'all know some of these. Serotonin, how many know that one? That's a brain neurotransmitter. How about dopamine? Heard of dopamine? Okay. GABA, serotonin, acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a very important one for Alzheimer's because most of your medication is meant to go for the acetylcholine. We have acetylcholinesterase or things to improve the acetylcholine. Acetylcholine improves the speed of brain, so speed of conduction across from one nerve to another. And that's actually what happened to our patient before that. That's why that map was cold, because he wasn't conducting energy between his nerves. Okay, this is the neurotransmitter that does that. All these are important. This is one of the main ones. Okay, this is one nerve, say, connecting with another nerve. And here's little packages of neurotransmitters. Neurochemical reaction, it's actually neurochemical reaction that happens between nerve to nerve, and it shoots, you know, if it starts slowing down, you start losing your thought, okay? So that's what happens a lot. So we try to speed that up. And we have a lot of ways in which we can speed that up. Exercise is one. It increases neurotropic hormones and makes this, speeds this up right here. This is another guy. This is Barry. He's 62, married. He's active, grown kids, one grandchild. In the recent past, he was fast on his feet, strong-willed, critical thinker, liked sports and gym, good at his job. Lately, poor concentration, sluggish. This is pretty common, what we see. Lost his edge, depression, forgetful, fails to finish tasks. Luckily, he's kind of getting there before the other guy, right? Before he's diagnosed with Alzheimer's. He started having some sluggishness here and thought, well, something's wrong, and he wanted to come in to see, okay? This is his neurotransmitters. We were able to do we can do a urinary neurotransmitter testing. You can test it through the urine. There's another way you can do it, which I haven't had anybody stand still long enough. You can do a brain biopsy. Yeah, so I haven't had anybody, or we can do your urine.
Not mine.
Not yours either. Not mine. Nobody stood still for the brain. Well, I don't have any examples of that one. But we have plenty of these. Okay, well, we found out that almost all of his neurotransmitters were down. Here's serotonin, GABA, glycine, glutamate, PEA, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. Okay, so he had no speed of conduction inside his brain. His brain had just almost slowed down. He wasn't doing neurotransmission. I think we were able to give him, I don't think I have anything in here, we were able to give him what we call precursors to his brain hormones. We gave him precursors, amino acids that helped and went up to his brain and started, in other words, fertilized his brain to produce these neurotransmitters. And this is fairly easily done if we know what neurotransmitters we need to fill into, okay? Now, if you have a lot of depression and you had this hormone off right here, and he had some depression, okay, Barry, and what? Serotonin. We can give him medication. He would be one that might do well with a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, or for guys, he had low dopamine and low norepinephrine, you see here, and we can give him something like Wellbutrin. Wellbutrin would have worked for him, or a serotonin reuptake inhibitor would work, especially for the depression. And if it's majorly like that, if you have too much of that, sometimes we will use medication. One of the things we try to do is help you get off that to where you don't need it. We find that a lot of medication have side effects and not good as a long-term therapy. You know, exactly. We always work with psychiatrists or with psychologists on these. Okay. I had one lady today that was a problem with this. We wouldn't have these medications or she's doing fine with it. So hormones and brain health. Natural hormone balancing improves memory and decreases Alzheimer's risk about 50%. When you want to do hormones, you want to look at all of them. Now, we don't look at all of them. We look at what we can actually take care of, what we find are the big rocks, let's call it, because there's thousands of hormones, thousands of them in the body. Cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, growth hormone, insulin, thyroid. We look at these because these help grow these brain-derived neurofactors. So they help the brain give things that help those astrocytes and microglial cells to form new brain cells. Okay. So this is Dr. Yaffe in neurology. This was printed in Neurology magazine. This is Kimberly. She's 55 years old. She's married, has 2 grown kids, healthy until menopause. Uh-oh. What happens during menopause? Does her hormones get better or worse? They go down.
No.
And any of you women know if you've gone through it, it goes like that. Goes off the cliff, right? Losing it, absent-minded, trouble sleeping, flipping out, can't focus, fuzzy thoughts, think I'm getting Alzheimer's. We were able to get her onto some hormones, and in this case we used estrogen therapy along with progesterone, and it increased her blood flow, increased neural growth factors. It kind of works like STP in the brain. It increases the fluidity of the brain. So she was able to help herself, okay? This is her hormones. Her estradiol, when we saw her, was very low. That should be around 100. It's 10. Okay, or DHEA was 54, that's a brain hormone, it should be about 150. Progesterone is less than 0.5, we couldn't even detect it, should be 5 to 20. 5 to 20. Growth hormone was 76, should be around 250, 200 to 250. Testosterone, very big for the brain, and hers was 10, should be around 60. Okay. So estrogen therapy decreases beta amyloid, so the protein that causes Alzheimer's, and decreases your risk of developing Alzheimer's around 30%. So this just is one hormone for females. Okay, we don't usually bring this up too much in guys, but guess what? It does work for guys too. It increases, for males, it increases especially word thought, word communication. If a male's estrogen goes down too much, he loses his communication. Okay, and it's interesting. I've always thought this is interesting. If you take a person and you raise up their testosterone, I'm not kidding, y'all think I'm lying, they'll get good at math. Not kidding. If you lower it, they get not so good. If you lower the, if you raise the estrogen, they get good at communication, words, communication. I don't know if that makes any difference.
At least they try.
Huh? I find a little humor in that. So Edward is a 67-year-old retired surgeon. Once prided himself on memory and physical stamina. He eats a balanced diet, takes vitamins. In the past, he was energetics, sharp-witted, good memory. He enjoyed, listen to this, how many people enjoy this? He reads complex concepts, likes physics and astronomy and anthropology, mathematics. This guy's like a brainy. Recently, he's had mental decline, fatigue, sore muscles, joints, trouble with simple math, balancing checkbooks and things, poor recall, proper names, and forgetful. Okay? So evidence leaks nutritional deficiencies. So if you have nutritional deficiencies, and what are the most common nutritional deficiencies that we have? I know because I run organic acid. What do you think might be, name off some? Now what we're talking about is, in this particular case, would be vitamins or minerals. What do you think might be?
DHA.
Magnesium.
Vitamin D.
D.
DHA.
What?
DHA.
DHEA?
DHA,
Oh,
omega-3,
that's a
omega-3 and DHA for sure.
DHA or DH?
DHD, like a David.
Yes.
DHD?
DHA for the
DHA.
omega-3.
DHA, okay, yeah.
For the
Fatty
shrinkage.
acid,
Shrinkage.
fatty acid, okay.
B1.
You're good, huh?
B1.
B vitamins, okay. You are
Magnesium.
stars, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
awesome.
Magnesium.
Magnesium, who said that one? That was a good one too, yeah. So you're right, so B vitamins, magnesium, okay? Your fatty acids that he was talking about, okay? And then the vitamin D. These are all vitamins that we see commonly in my office. Who would have vitamin D deficiency in Florida? But we do. Why is that? We should get it walking to our car, but we don't. We're not sure why. Probably we wear things, clothing, and protect ourselves. We don't like skin cancer, so we protect ourselves. So poor deficiencies lock up with their hippocampus. Now the hippocampus, remember I talked about certain parts in the brain that have memory. Hippocampus is one of the main ones.
Oil too.
Sorry?
Oil, like because brain is 60%, like a
Oil.
coconut oil.
Well, what you just said was a fatty acid. Now that's a,
Okay.
yeah, that's a type, but you're talking about now coconut oil, middle chain or mid-chain fatty acids. That's good. Okay. Our first one was like omega-3 fatty acid.
Okay.
That's good.
That's,
Oil.
that's me too.
Isn't it? Oh, okay. So this is his workup here. We just ran a vitamin study, a very simple one called SpectraCell, and we found out. Guess what? His brain was rusting. It's supposed to be way up here in the white. This little black box. This is his spectrox, or how much he's oxidizing. Should be way up here. He's way down here. He's oxidizing. He's rusting out his brain. And why? Because of nutritional deficiencies. Okay, this is his immunology. The immune system is down. This is his immune system as you age, and it's down. Okay. Then we found out. We looked at his cells, inside his cells. These are internal cells. B3 was down. B6 was down. B3, this vitamin D. Okay. It is insulin, zinc. Okay. Vitamin B6. Okay. And so all these things were down. He didn't have low magnesium. I think that's the only one he didn't have that y'all were pointing out in there.
What? I have a question.
So as far as, I'm sorry, if you could just hold.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, I know. I know you get something on your brain. Write it down if you get something on your brain.
Right now.
So we recommend good food, omega-3, been pointed out, that's the oil, okay? B vitamins, vitamin B and acetylcysteine, phosphatidylserine, I'm going to tell you in a minute why that one.
That's a good food.
Y'all might want to write some of these down. And by the way, they may be, I think they're in there. This piece of paper I gave you all.
Do you have it?
Yes, in the back.
This is Dr. Bredeson's one. CoQ10, acetyl-L-carnitine. So let me just talk about one of these, okay? We talk about any of them. Phosphatidylserine. Let's look at that. It's a very good one. This one's been studied a lot. Just by taking that one mineral, you can increase your brain speed. Where would it increase? What would it increase? Acetylcholine. Remember we talked about that, the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. This one increases acetylcholine, so speed up thought. It's increased by that. Now, this guy's done some research and is supposed to put your brain back. Dr. Cook did research printed in Neurology magazine, increased your brain aging about 15 years. Oh, I'm sorry, 12 years.
That's good.
Yeah. These are tests that I would suggest getting your doctor to run: lipid peroxide, homocysteine, genetics, C-reactive protein, toxins, especially heavy metals, nutritional panels, hormone panels, and neurotransmitters.
What was the last one? In the last page, acetyl.
Acetylcholine.
Hmm?
Acetylcholine.
Which one is up on the acetyl-L-carnitine?
Oh,
By the way, it's in the book. You read the book that
It's in
suggested.
your pamphlet.
Yeah.
Acetylcholine.
Yeah, we're done. Anybody has to go home and watch reruns of The Simpsons.
Dr. Watts, do you want to say goodbye to Facebook?
Oh, let's say goodbye to Facebook before we open up for questions.